This is your 7.4 recap video. So it's a z-test for a population proportion. This is a statistical test for a population proportion. This can be used when a binomial distribution is given such that n times p is greater than or equal to 5 and n times q is greater than or equal to 5. We will have to find this in order to make sure our test is valid. The test statistic is the sample proportion, p hat. The standardized test statistic is z. So in 7.3, our sample proportion was mu because we were finding about a mean. Now it's p hat because we're finding about a proportion. So now with p hat comes a z statistic. So this is the new formula that you will use in this unit for your test statistic to find out if it's in the rejection region or not. So using a z-test for your population proportion, here's your steps that you need. First, verify that n times p is greater than or equal to 5 and n times q is greater than or equal to 5. Then state your claim mathematically and verbally, identify the null and the alternative hypothesis. Specify the level of significance, which means identify alpha. Sketch the sampling distribution. Determine any critical values. You can use the table or you can use Excel. I will use Excel. 5. Determine any rejection region. Find the standardized test statistic. Make a decision to reject or fail to reject the null hypothesis based on that test statistic. Interpret the decision in the context of the original claim. So let's practice. Zogby International claims that 45% of people in the United States support making cigarettes illegal within the next 5 to 10 years. You decide to test this claim and ask a random sample of 200 people in the United States whether they support making cigarettes illegal within the next 5 to 10 years. Of the 20 people, 49% support this law. At alpha equals 0.05, is there enough evidence to reject the claim? So what is our claim in this case? Test this claim that 45% of the people in the United States support making cigarettes. So first we need to verify n times p, which is greater than or equal to 5, and n times q, which is greater than or equal to 5. So we have 200 people right here, so times it by 0.5, we get 90. 200 times 0.5, we get 110. Perfect, they're both above 5, we can do this. So h naught and h alpha, we say they either there is 45% or there is not 45%. So our claim is that you disagree that it's 45%. So therefore it's not equal to. Since it's not equal to, we also know that it is a two-tailed test. Next, we need to find our alpha, which in our problem said it was 0.05. Then we draw our rejection region. Since we know it's two-tailed, we know it's going to look like this. Now to find a z-score, we need to go to Excel. So I'm going to open up Excel here. In Excel, to find a z-score, we go to our function wizard, wherever yours may be, norm.s.inverse, and then type in 0.05. And divide by 2, since it's a two-tailed test. That gives us negative 1.96. That's exactly where this came from. So now we fill out our test statistic, which is p hat minus p, square root p times q, divided by n. Now, don't forget, q is 1 minus p. So, our p hat was 0.49. That's what we found in our test study. As you look back here, of 200 people, you found 49%. So that's 0.49. Subtract what they gave us, 45%, and divide that by the square root of p, which was 45. 1 minus 45 is 55, so times 55, and then divide by our 200. That gives us a 1.14. Therefore, 1.14 is in this region, which is fail to reject. So at the 5% level of significance, there is not enough evidence to reject the claim that 45% of people in the U.S. support making cigarettes illegal within the next 5 years. Example number 2. The Pew Research Center claims that more than 55% of U.S. adults regularly watch their local television news. You decide to test this claim and ask a random sample of 425 adults in the United States whether they regularly watch their local television news. Of the 425 adults, 255 respond yes. At alpha equals 0.05, is there enough evidence to support the claim? First things first, 55% times our ends. So 425 times 55% and 425 times 45%. Now we pick our H0 and our alternative hypothesis. Since in the problem it said more than 55, our alternate is the only place we can put our information. Therefore, when we go to solve, if it's greater than or equal to 0.55, this has to be less than or equal to 0.55. So this one is technically our claim. Then we write down our alpha from the problem, 0.05. Then we draw our rejection region. Since this is greater than, we know this is right-tailed. To figure out this point right here, we can go open our Excel file again, go in here. We don't need to divide by 2 this time, it's right. So it'll tell us 1.645. That one's negative, so I'm going to do a 1 minus, and that's going to give me the positive one, which is the right one, which is the correct one that I need. Now that we have that information, we can decide whether we're going to fall in here or fall in here. So we use our test statistic for that. Now, we got 255 yeses out of 425, so technically, we did not find our percent yet. So we could easily come right over here and do 255 divided by 425. That gives us a 0.6. So this p hat is this, or 0.6, minus what they gave us, 0.55, divided by what they gave us, p, 0.55, 1 minus p, which is q, 0.45, and divide that by the square root of 425. All of that is underneath the parentheses. So it's all in the square root. When you do that math, you get 2.07. That happens to fall to the right of 1.645, so it is in our rejection region. So we are going to reject H0. At the 5% level of significance, there is enough evidence to support the claim that more than 55% of U.S. adults regularly watch their local television show. That's it.